All right, my good people around the world, Boyz Pod is back in the building. We got the whole cast today, and we getting right into it. It's been a long time, and we glad to be back. So,
In the
NFL,
house of the Lord.
we stop. We got a lot of great content for you. So, NFL, first on deck. Eagles and 49ers are running through everybody, and the Eagles haven't even fully hit their stride yet. So, random, Monty, you are under center. You're starting us out. What do you think about the Eagles 49ers, and which of the two do you think will be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl?
Um, Honestly, this year I got the Niners representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Eagles,
Yes, sir.
offensively, they got the most unstoppable play in the NFL offense today's world. That brotherly shove, whatever you call it. Offensively, Devontae Smith's looking good. The run game's still there. They got the best center in football in Jason Kelsey. Jalen Hurts is still looking magnificent as he did last year. Defensively, they're pretty good defensively. I mean, they've had some games where they've given up some easy points left and right. But I still think they're going to make it to the conference championship. But the Niners, man, that defense is something different, man.
Oh,
That defense with Bosa, Fred Warner, Hargrave. I forget the other linebacker's name with Warner.
Greenlaw.
Greenlaw, yeah, Greenlaw. Those two are disgusting. They have a good secondary, a great coaching staff. Offensively, Brock Purdy is him. I'm gonna be honest. Brock Purdy is him offensively. Christian McCaffrey is still the best running back in the league.
Yeah.
Not afraid to say that. The greatest left tackle, in my opinion, of all time, Trent Williams, is out there locking stuff up. Locked up Micah Parsons like it was nothing. So I think the Niners got it, man. All they got to do is just, knock on wood, stay healthy. I think that's the only reason why they haven't won a Super Bowl in the last couple of years, because they've been injured. But this year they're looking good and healthy. So I got the Niners, man.
Hey, we got you in motion. RJ, you under center now. Talk to me.
Hey, man, look, first off, I just want to say, I wish I had that line that 49ers had, right? But Eagles and 49ers, out of the two, I definitely have the 49ers. You're going to be coming out because, like, they just go crazy. Like, defensively and offensively, they're both top three in both categories right now. Brock Purdy's passing rating is a 123. He's only been sacked 8 times this year. I believe that's 26th in the league right now, right?
Yeah.
So he's not getting touched at all. Their defense is only allowing 260 yards a game. That's simple like that. And then when it comes to their offense, they're averaging over 402 yards a game, right? And their run game is really the drive of that. They're running the ball about 45 times a game and averaging 4.5 yards a game. 156 of those 402 yards total offense is coming from the rushing game. So they have a really crazy rushing game. Their defense is top tier. And when I look at the Eagles, it's just they're finally getting into the rhythm of their offense with getting AJ Brown, back into the rhythm of things. They just got that passing game down pat. That run game is a little bit stronger than it was last year, though. I will say that. They're also top 3 in the league, and when it comes to rushing, they're number 2 right now. Okay,
DeAndre Swift, boy,
man.
With DeAndre Swift, bro, they're going crazy. It's just their defense is why I'm really questioning it. Their defense is number 8 or 9 in the league right now. They're not a bad defense, but from last year compared to this year, they definitely regressed, right? So I really like the 49ers coming out, and really that's all I gotta say, bro.
All right, Eric, we subbing you in. Let's go.
All right. So I think if everybody stays healthy in a perfect world, the Niners will come out on top and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl, just because their defense is making plays, they're outscoring their opponents, they're dominating their opponents. The only game that was really close was the Rams game, which I'm gonna say is a fluke for this year.
Divisional
because
game.
And you host Dallas and put up 42 or something. George Kittle had 3 touchdowns.
Never mind.
They need to continue to get George Kittle involved in their offense to take the load off of McCaffrey and off of Brock Purdy. Just get that safety net back into the rotation, like how they had in years past with Garoppolo. And I think Brock Purdy won't overthrow the receiver in the Super Bowl like Jimmy G did, so that they beat the Chiefs. That's my prediction.
Hey.
But if the injuries pile up for the 49ers like they have in years past, the Eagles will come out and win. Their defense is a little iffy for me, mainly because I was watching like the tail end of the Washington game. Looked a little iffy. Sam Howell was kind of dotting them up, slicing them up, taking them into overtime. And also the red zone
overtime game.
Yeah. And also the red zone offense for the Eagles is really struggling right now. Jason Kelsey said it on the New Heights podcast. He said that because their kicker has more points than the Giants.
Oh,
sorry, RJ. Probably has more points than the Bears too.
That's crazy.
That's
personally,
the
I wouldn't let
that's
that slide. I wouldn't let
that's the graphic that's been going around. That's the
My
graphic that's been
organization
going
has let
around.
everything slide so far. So,
But you know, with that being said, I think you brought up a great point about Kelsey and about Kittle. I really think it's sad how people have forgotten how close of a race for the best tight end it really is. The 49ers just don't utilize him in the way that the Chiefs utilize Kelsey.
Yeah.
And on top of that this dude is like an extension of an offensive lineman. He is a dominant part in their running game. So you just got to imagine if he was out there in that spread offense where he's able to motion, get one-on-one matchups, be in space, utilize his speed, his route running, yards after catch ability, he would be statistically a crazy wave. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I don't even want to break the stride. I got to go with the 49ers as well. I think it's super close, but the separation is the Eagles secondary is what worries me. You've obviously got Slay. Slay's going to do his thing, right? But I'm worried about their slot. If you watch the beginning of the Rams game, Cooper Kupp in his first game back had 36 yards on the first drive alone. And he hit the same option, slant route, 3 straight plays. That you can't do that. That's not acceptable. So I'm worried about that for them. But they still have a fantastic team, and they're rolling. That defensive line is crazy. The offensive line is crazy. Two of the most important aspects in football. And here's the thing. Sometimes games come to a shootout, and whoever has a better quarterback that can make better plays will win. And I believe Jalen Hurts can do that over Brock Purdy. Now, Brock Purdy's coming to his own. MVP talks for real this year. He's doing his thing. He's no longer just kind of filling in. He's that guy now. But I don't think he's on Jalen Hurts level right now. Jalen's just dynamic, too much of a weapon through the air, on his legs. It's a lot to deal with.
Didn't Jalen Hurts outperform Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl?
Talk that talk. I'm just saying. That's Amani. No, that's a real point. But before we get wrapped up in that, that's another day and another conversation. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud. He's balling.
He's him.
Balling. He
is him. I told y'all. I told everybody in the world, bro. C.J. Stroud is the best QB out of this draft class. I said it from the beginning. I mean to cut you off, RJ, or I mean Colin, RJ. I mean to cut you off, Colin. But I said it from the beginning. He's going to the Houston Texans. He almost has 1,500 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. 0. For him to have Patrick Mahomes has more interceptions than C.J. Stroud, and Mahomes has way better weapons than C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is getting it done. I don't care what anybody says. C.J. Stroud. First of all, I'm saying right now, C.J. Stroud is going to be a Pro Bowler this season as a rookie.
That's fair.
I don't care what anybody says. And he definitely should be offensive rookie of the year. And honestly, he definitely should be put in there for offensive player of the year because the Texans are 2-3. They're scoring points. Last year they couldn't do anything. They put C.J. Stroud in there, and who are his weapons? Like, be honest here. Who does he have?
Nico Collins. That's really it.
He doesn't have, and his offensive line is terrible, and he still gets it done. So CJ, I mean, he's him, bro. That's all I can say, bro. That's all I can say. He's him. Bryce Young is good, but I think the Panthers made a mistake. I honestly think they made a mistake. I mean, I can't count him out yet because Bryce Young is on a worse team than CJ Stroud. He doesn't really have anybody at all. But I'm going to be honest, when it's all said and done, I think the Panthers made a mistake in taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
I will say the Panthers definitely made a mistake with, like, they had in their mind they needed a quarterback, right? So why trade away your best receiver? Why and then like they picked up Miles Sanders, who hasn't really been doing anything this year throughout like 5 games. And your best receiver for Bryce Young is Adam Thielen.
That's a
I'm
problem.
not saying it's a bad thing, but it is a problem for a rookie.
He's definitely a good number 2, especially he's a good number 2. He's not a number 1.
He's just up there in age now. Like maybe a couple years ago, maybe you could trade him for the one receiver, right?
Oh yeah.
But if you don't have a solid one receiver, then it's gonna be a lot of trouble for a young quarterback like Bryce Young. And I will say I was a fan of them signing Andy Dalton to mentor Bryce Young, but I haven't really. We're talking about both.
Oh.
But I will say I think Andy Dalton needs to step up and like start being more of a coach and a mentor to Bryce Young. But since RJ wants to talk about CJ Stroud, you want to talk about CJ Stroud then, RJ?
Talk to us.
Of course. I'm not really watching.
My bad. It was an ad. My bad. Keep going, RJ. I apologize, bro.
How ironic that happened.
It was. I don't know how, because my computer's touchscreen, so I was like trying to move my phone, and like I don't know. Whoopi Goldberg just showed up on the ad. I apologize.
Okay.
Like in.
All right, back to business.
I'm not really watching too much of CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, but from what I've seen with CJ Stroud, like he's him for real. Like the presence he has in the pocket, like he looks very calm. And like the one other person I've seen that's a rookie out of that quarterback class that looked that calm is Anthony Richardson, but he can't stay healthy, right? But
yeah,
CJ Stroud, like when I'm watching his highlights, like he's just making all the right reads. You know, if he needs to take a sack, he has to take a sack, right? But if he's going to throw the ball away, he's going to throw the ball away. He looks like a veteran QB. Obviously, he's a rookie and he's still making a little bit of some mistakes, like, but he doesn't look like he's scared to get the ball down the field either. Like, if he needs to make a 20+ yard pass, he's going to do it, right? Bryce Young, I don't know what's going on with Bryce, but like maybe it's the O-line, really, but like he doesn't look. I don't know. He doesn't look too calm in the pocket, in my opinion. But I haven't really seen too much of him, so I'm not going to try to speak too much on him. But he doesn't look calm, in my opinion, like he did when he was at Alabama.
Okay, I think it's interesting. CJ Stroud, like Amani said with the stats, 1,500 yards or close to, 7 touchdowns and no picks. Like, I don't think people understand how difficult that is. That's Aaron Rodgers type stuff during his prime, because Buddy wasn't throwing picks like that. And CJ Stroud, to be that smart, that cognizant of the coverages, diagnosing what the defense is throwing at him, and not having top tier weapons, this is crazy. Once he gets a real wide receiver number 2, it's going to be nasty. But as for CJ Stroud, as for Bryce Young, I'm still a believer. He's a smaller QB. So the type of things he did at Alabama versus college level lineman isn't going to work in the pros. He's not as big, not as strong. And you see the guys that do that type of stuff. You look at a Josh Allen, who's evading sacks. Even Aaron Rodgers during his prime was 6'1", and 200+. So Bryce Young is just not as physically imposing. And then you factor in he's a shorter QB. So seeing over those linemen, seeing over, these contests that could be at the line is that much more difficult. And it just doesn't help that you have one of the slowest wide receiver cores in all of history. So you're not getting any stretch of the field vertically, and no one is scared. You look at a team like Miami, what makes them so dangerous, you have to play off 5 to 7 yards because your number one cornerback can't sprint with Tyreek Hill, and your number two can't sprint with Jalen Waddle. So it's just a different dynamic. They need to put some speed around them, need to put some guys that can make plays in space. And here's the thing, you can do the short, intermediate passing, you can do that. But when they're not afraid of your speed, you can sit on those routes. I can sit on that 5-yard slant. I can sit on that 5-yard comeback or that 5-yard out. That doesn't fear me because I know you can't go deep. So I really think they need to find a way to switch it up, get him some more speed, make some trades, just help him ease into that role as the number one quarterback. But I think the football talk has been great. But Amani, it's time. UFC 2.
I'm excited, baby.
Volkanovski steps in on 11-day notice to face
Islam
Makhachev. Now, look, I'll start out with this because I feel a way about this. I do not like it. I do not like it.
Really?
A number one versus a number two pound-for-pound fighter in the world should never be a rushed fight. Both of these guys deserve full training camps. Think about it. He's been training for a very specific style in Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira is a pressure fighter, and he's going to rely on his jiu-jitsu when he gets in tough situations. He's going to invite you to the ground, X, Y, and Z. Volk doesn't want to touch the ground. He's gonna wrestle, and he's gonna keep you, up on the feet. So preparing for the style of Volkanovski, who's a heavy counter striker, great at feigning, elite movement, one of the greatest strikers we've ever seen, nasty setups, and a guy who mentally can adjust on the fly at all times. But then I've got a guy like Charles who's willing to die on his sword. He's going to move forward, and he's not going to adapt his style. He's going to win or lose on that type of style. So that mentality matters. And I think for the training of Islam, it's difficult because now he's in a lose-lose situation. If you beat Alexander Volkanovski, people are going to say, oh, it's on 11-day notice. You're a fraud. You still haven't done anything, whatever, X, Y, and Z. But if he loses, oh, my God, you lost to a dude on 11 days notice, X, Y, and Z. So it's a very bad situation. But now I'm confident in the fact that he gains an extra 12 hours to rehydrate, which people don't realize that matters a ton. In Australia, they only had 24 hours. In Abu Dhabi, you get 36. So making Volk move up and he's going to be back at full weight. So he could easily be 170 to 180 on fight night. So that's going to work in his favor. The wrestling becomes bigger. The clinch, he's putting more weight, more pressure on Volk. So those scrambles and situations become that much more difficult. But I'm still nonetheless excited for it, but I don't think this is the best circumstance for this fight to happen. So, Amani, what are you thinking about it?
I agree with you on the rush fight. I mean, a fight, because we all know Volk versus Islam round one. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. That was a striking, and we can all agree. We can all agree on this that Islam only won that fight because of his ground control. That was it. In my opinion. In my opinion, if Islam did not take it to the ground at all, I think Volk wins that fight by split decision because I think Volk was getting to him a little bit more than Islam was. But when you have two of the best fighters in the world, not just in the weight class, just in the world, and Oliveira comes out due to an injury. I know Dana White. It's about the money. You put Volkanovski in there, you're going to make a lot more money than having Oliveira. But I think that what they should have done, I think they should have pushed it back at least a month or two. Because now, like you said, you're giving Volkanovski an 11-day, Islam an 11-day notice, which you said he's been training for Oliveira. He's been training for that jiu-jitsu. He's been training for that ground game way more than a stand-up. And Volkanovski is a guy where, he's okay going to the ground, but he wants to stand up and bang. He wants to throw. He wants to hit you, back up, and then go again and then back up. He wants to move around. He can go on the ground, like I said, but that's not his forte. So I feel like Volkanovski has a little bit more of an advantage in Islam because we all know Volkanovski's still training. He's been training all year, but he's been training his style. He's been training his stand-up. He's been training his kicks. He's been doing all that. And for the last few months, Islam has been training, jiu-jitsu, defending the naked chokes, the arm bars, all that, while, focusing on his submissions and ground control. So like I said, I'm excited for it. I'm happy to watch it. I'm going to be in there watching that. I don't see why I wouldn't. But I feel like you said, Islam is in a lose-lose. And I feel like Volkanovski, no matter what happens, is in a win-win situation. If he loses, he only had 11 days to get it. If he wins, wow, he beat Islam in 11-day notice, So I feel like I said, it's going to be a good fight. But, UFC got some other ones coming up that will be interesting. I feel like, I know you saw Usman is fighting Chimaev now.
Segue into Usman versus Chimaev. That is crazy. Now,
that is going to be a fight that I am excited for because
real quick, I don't mean to cut you off, but
yeah,
you look at that fight, that is a wrestling clinic.
Oh my gosh.
And you think about Usman, a lot of people don't understand. Usman was ready to go up to 205. That shows you how big he is and how much he walks around at. So to be able to come up to 185, if he beats Chimaev, Dana White said, winner gets a title shot.
Yeah.
I think he can beat Sean Strickland. So the motivation into this is, if I get this dub, I get a rematch with a guy who I beat before, who I know I can wrestle better than, and who I know I'm physically more imposing than. And here's the thing: a lot of people didn't know Sean Strickland like that before the Izzy fight. Yeah. So people think, you see that knockdown, you think, oh, this dude has crazy power in his hands. No, he's had a reputation for letting guys stay around in terms of his hit power. Now, obviously, he's looking to finish fights, but he just doesn't hit hard like that. So Usman has a chin as well. I understand he got knocked out, but Usman can take shots. So I think Usman's confident in his ability and that specific matchup for him. But Chimaev is just a monster, man. And
Chimaev is a different. I don't know what it is, man. But I was gonna say, touching on that Strickland power, if that was Pereira who had Izzy knocked down like that in the first round, that fight would have been finished.
Would have been done.
Because Strickland knocked down Izzy and was hitting him against the cage, and Izzy's just sitting there like, oh, I'm good. Because Strickland doesn't have the power like that. He can knock you down, but I just don't think he has that knockout power like some of these fighters.
Right.
And you're talking about Usman, who, first of all, like I said, Chimaev is a different breed. He is, I don't think I've ever seen someone like Chimaev. Just like I've never seen someone like Islam or John Jones. I've never seen anyone like Chimaev. His ability to strike and then get down really low for a takedown, his ground striking, his elbows on the ground are some of the most disgusting elbows. Like, I put them right there with John Jones in terms of his elbows. The way he hits you and pierces your your forehead, whatever. Like,
that's crazy. You go.
Yo, what did I just say? What did I just say?
I'm not even gonna repeat that.
The way he pierces the skin on your forehead. That's what I meant to say. His ability to get. Yeah. So, like I said, he's a beast. Usman. I mean, I got Chimaev. I think Usman would. I can't keep going, bro. I can't.
On that note, it's been a very successful podcast. We hope to have this out to you sometime next week. Shouts to all the dogs for hopping on. I know y'all boys are busy. We appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're gonna link socials in the comment section. So please, when you get a chance, follow us on all platforms. We're gonna get active. We're pushing hard, trying to get this content out to you. And it's just time that we level up. So we appreciate you for tuning in. Bum Boys out. All love, baby. Appreciate y'all. Take care.
Peace.